Joining me now here in Philadelphia to discuss everything resulting now from the hacking question, CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pegues, as well as chief investigative reporter for Yahoo News, Michael Isikoff. And Michael, I want to start with you. Yesterday, you further broke a piece of news here that the hackers in question had also targeted the personal emails of a DNC staffer who'd been tasked with probing the business dealings of Paul Manafort prior to coming aboard as the Trump campaign chairman. It seems another piece of a puzzle that is still perhaps scattered, but there does seem now something to put together here.
It's definitely a part of the puzzle because Manafort, who's the campaign manager for Donald Trump, had been the political consultant for years for Viktor Yanukovych, who was the pro-Putin president of Ukraine and was ousted after protests at Maidan Square. He also forged business dealings with two billionaire pro-Putin oligarchs, one of them Dmitry Firtash, who's under indictment in the United States for bribes. There's court records showing that Manafort and Firtash were doing real estate deals in New York. There's another pro-Putin oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, who was denied a visa to the United States because of suspected organized crime ties. There's court records showing that he and Manafort were in business together through Cayman Islands corporations, offshore corporations. So there's a lot of threads to the Manafort story that have raised questions about Manafort, which he has not been forthcoming about answering. But to have the DNC staffer who was looking into all that, then suddenly be alerted that her personal email was being hacked, and being hacked by a state-sponsored actor. That's the message she got from Yahoo Security. She had a Yahoo email address, and in early May, before there was any public knowledge of this Russian hack of the DNC, she was alerted that there had been a state-sponsored attack on her personal email. That is, she said it freaked her out, and it was really scary.
Certainly understandable. And Jeff, and so the FBI announces that it is investigating all proceedings here, using as a working hypothesis, again, that this was Russian intelligence agencies behind it all. What comes next, then, in this investigation, even as we're hearing from Michael, that there are strands connecting to Paul Manafort that still have questions left to be asked, and what, if any, recourse is there here?
Well, what comes next is old-fashioned police work, but in the new digital age, right? Looking for fingerprints, and there are fingerprints with these cyber attacks. They're patterns that develop, and that's what U.S. officials are seeing here, according to what CBS News has learned. But building on what you said, there was evidence, and it was stated publicly by the head of the DNI, James Clapper, back in May, that both campaigns were being targeted for cyber attacks. And so this is not something new. This is something that the U.S. government has seen with past campaigns. 2008, 2012, there is a pattern there as well. So in a lot of ways, it is surprising that the DNC didn't do more sooner to prevent something like this from happening.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to point out, yes, it is entirely correct. In 2008, U.S. intelligence had information that Chinese hackers, Chinese government hackers, had hacked into the campaigns of both Barack Obama and John McCain. The difference here is that was viewed as just intelligence gathering, just trying to gather information so that they understood better where both the candidates were. This takes it a step further. This raises the question of whether, if it was the Russians, they are trying to meddle and influence the outcome of the election, and that is much more sinister. I do think it's interesting to note, just with the news overnight, that John Kerry, Secretary of State, said he raised the issue with the Russians in Laos and mentioned, now that the FBI is public about their doing an investigation, James Comey is now in the hot seat again and could very well have a big impact in this election because he has to make the call whether to tell the White House, yes, we believe it's the Russians. And if he does say that, then the White House has to call out Vladimir Putin and say, we can attribute this to the Russians.
But this investigation was launched, again, because the FBI has a working hypothesis that it is Russian intelligence. Cyber security experts up and down are all saying almost as one. This is certainly the work of Russian intelligence agencies. At some point, it feels like the die is already cast here.
Well, and that's what's really interesting, I think, here with this story, how this popped into the public atmosphere, if you will. It came from the campaign first. That sort of sparked this fire that then created this light that people are now really looking into. You have been looking into this for a long time, but now the media has caught on in a big way. And frankly, for the FBI with their statement and from other U.S. officials sort of indicating that, yes, the Russians are behind this. And in a lot of these cases, we've seen that they've been more cautious about coming out and saying, well, yes, China is behind this. They'll take their time and build their case. But in this case, they are coming out early.
They led with their chin here. I mean, they were not shy about stating their working hypothesis. I also wonder, Mike, again, and with regard to essentially what you're saying, the timing of this has now ratcheted the stakes, if nothing else. And so we're already seeing this politicized, however, unsurprisingly. And I wonder what you think the implications are when you look at this, again, as the Clinton campaign using this as they can effort the idea that Donald Trump has been cozying up to Vladimir Putin, and perhaps this is just more evidence of it. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign using it to further say, again, with the revelation of what was in the emails in question, that the system is rigged. Are both campaigns being played essentially as puppets at this point?
Well, you know, in some respects, and certainly the emails that have been disclosed were embarrassing. It led to Debbie Wasserman Schultz's resignation. But there's a wild card here to watch, which really has the Clinton campaign very nervous and very worried. Julian Assange has suggested he has Hillary Clinton's emails from that private server in Chappaqua. Now, we don't know whether that's bluster. We don't know what he's really got. But
they promised part one as well. This initial release was said to be part one.
But as embarrassing as these emails have been, that's nothing to what the impact would be if in October Assange posts on the WikiLeaks website those emails from the private server, because it would then be definitive proof that there had been a compromise of her private emails, and if all the dots are connected as we think they are, that the Russians had been reading her email on that private email server in real time. That could have a real impact on this election, and that's what Democrats are most worried about.
It is another surreal chapter against this political landscape, one that many are arguing unlike any we've ever seen. It bears mentioning, if nothing else, Michael Isikoff, I have a feeling you and I have not had our last discussion with regard to this subject. And Jeff Pegues, as always, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.